yourself in the chat, provide your LinkedIn so people can connect with you. To get us going, I'm Angela Priest. I am the co-founder of AlmaMe, and I am the COO of the company, also known as the Chief Empowerment Officer. So I manage our coaching programs. We currently run a job search program specifically for PhDs and academics, to help them optimize their job search and make sure they're actually getting interviews and getting offers, instead of falling into the black hole that is the job search. I'm joined today by my co-founder, Elena Hoffer, who is our CEO, and
with this team,
Chief Insights Officer. And also Jorge Martinez Marquez, who has kindly offered to be our guinea pig, and allow us to publicly review his resume live. So, Elena, is there anything that you want to add before we go ahead and get started?
No, nothing I would like to add. I'm really excited. We've done this format once before, Angela, right, for Utah University, and it was very popular. And I think this is the reason why we did it, because you can learn often so much more seeing what other people do wrong or think is the right thing to do. And yeah, so nothing I would like to add, but just saying enjoy.
All right. So, so I'm going to be running this the same way that we walk through our resumes with our coaching clients. So, George, again, thank you for joining us. So, I've got your resume up and I'll share it on screen here in just a minute. But the first thing that I just wanted to ask you is, what kind of jobs are you looking for? What are your kind of career objectives?
Right, yeah. So I am focusing my career search on like medical writing jobs, medical writing roles, or medical communications. Essentially roles where I can take all the skills that I've gotten doing research and presenting that research at conferences or congresses, and put that into action for clients, towards, I don't know, maybe for patients who would look at brochures, or maybe even going the route of more regulatory medical writing. So essentially medical communications, but I'm focusing it on like the medical writing part of it.
Okay, cool. And so right now, something that's probably important for you to know is I'm seeing a lot of consolidation in that particular space right now. It is being affected by AI, so that's something that you want to be aware of. It's kind of going through its hype cycle right now, as many companies are going through their hype cycle. But one of the things that's happening with AI is companies typically go hard into the AI dimension for writing and things like that. They realize that it's not all that it's cracked up to be, and then they start pulling the humans back into the loop. So it's kind of going through that hype portion right now. I'm starting to see those roles pick back up. But what I am seeing is that they're being consolidated. So before, where you would have like medical writing, medical affairs, regulatory science, you're starting to see some companies bring all of those roles together into one house, where they're bringing kind of all the medical writing type of stuff under one kind of role and function. We usually see this in the market when we're in down markets. Companies are trying to save money, so they combine more things into one role. You see less specialization, more generalization of roles. And then when the market picks back up, I would expect that to kind of separate. So you can kind of see an accordion effect happening here. So when you think about your resume, you're going to want to set it up across those three dimensions. So medical affairs, medical writing, and regulatory. Regulatory is huge in that space right now, where there's kind of a demand for people with that regulatory experience who can write for regulatory bodies. So all things to just kind of keep in mind. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, So I want to give you just some initial impressions and observations around what I'm seeing. One of the things to be aware of when people open up your resume is that hiring managers are generally going to spend less than 60 seconds. Recruiters, who are typically the gatekeepers to the interview process, they're the ones, they tend to be less technical, but they're generally only going to spend between 10 and 20 seconds reviewing your resume. So just like meeting somebody in person, you're going to run into a first impression effect when you do that. So the first thing that I noticed, so if we're just kind of dealing in first impressions, you have a really good visual hierarchy. The design is very simple, so there's no distracting colors, graphics, any of that stuff that people can get really hung up on, which makes this easy to kind of skim through. You have clear section headers, you have clear bolding on the key types of information that I would be looking for. But what I would say is that to some degree, this still resembles an academic CV, which academic CVs tend to be kind of more list format and tend to go into greater detail around kind of work history and chronology and project space than most. And so with this, the way that you've set this up, you may be likely to run into like what I call the academic bias, which is, oh, this person doesn't really have practical experience. It's all academic just because of the way that you've set this up. So the first thing that I see is kind of your bulleted professional summary. Okay. And this tells me some stuff about you. But you're really focused on the technical skills aspect. And hiring is interpersonal. So the personal attributes that you bring to the table are just as important as the technical aspects. People want to work with people they like. So when you're looking through 100 different resumes, if all of them talk about technical skills, they all start to blend together. Like people become less and less memorable the further I get into that pile of resumes. The resumes that tend to stick out are the ones that give me some indicator of what it would be like to work with them. So if I were to go to your friends or colleagues or mentors, what are two attributes that they would use to describe you?
Let me see. Two attributes. I mean, I build rapport pretty easily with people. And I guess I build them up instead of just thinking about me. I'm not very selfish. I guess those would be two things. I guess those go together. So if I would, I mean, those are the two that kind of jump up at me.
Yeah. So you're highly personable and team oriented. So highly personable means that you can have a conversation. I can see that from you already. Like you've got kind of a warm like aura to you, you know, where you're just kind of like you seem pretty, the fact that you are doing this with me live, it tells me that you're pretty easygoing. So when you're describing yourself in here, you want to kind of think about the attributes that go against the stereotypes of a medical writer, right? That creates something interesting about you. When I think about, particularly in regulatory, like when you think of somebody in regulatory affairs, you kind of think about this stodgy person who's sitting, you know, reading all the legalese and all of that. And, you know, maybe sitting on an old like typewriter, just typing it out with the, you know,
clickety
clackety, right. So the fact that you're highly personable in kind of this type of medical writing role is relevant, right? So you want to bring that aura. Like the other things that I would ask you is when you're meeting with somebody for the first time in a professional capacity, what are some of the things that you want them and think are important to know about what it would be like to work with you?
I mean, I like to establish like maybe I mean, if we're collaborating and working on something together, right? I like to make sure that we establish like specific like either pipelines or timelines
Mm-hmm.
of what the work will entail. I want to make sure that they understand the things that I'm good at and how I'm going to help them. And to do that, I would, I guess, set up either a timeline or an outline of the pipeline that I would use to help them to do specific tasks that I would be doing for them,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, so you're also very goal driven too.
Yep.
So you're the get stuff done guy.
Sometimes, yeah.
All right. All right. So when you're writing your professional summary, it should really be broken down into kind of four sentences. And those are all the attributes that you're trying to get across, along with the technical detail. So when you're writing one of these summaries, there's actually kind of a formula to it. And I'm going to bring something up on screen just to show you here. So typically, and it's all going to be written in this indirect first person, which can kind of feel like shorthand a little bit, but
Mhm.
you're going to grab those two attributes. So you're going to say highly personable and team oriented medical communications professional with X plus years of experience with. What are the three top things that you have experience with in kind of that medical writing space? What would you say are your top skills?
Yeah, so I mean, I know how to do like literary review or
Okay.
literature review. I am very familiar with like disease-based models, like in mice, for example.
Okay.
Um, and I am very well versed with a lot of molecular biology techniques.
Okay. So then you would say with X plus years of experience, and I'm going to look back at your resume here. So your research dates back to 2011. So we're going to
Mhm.
say with 10 plus years of experience with literature reviews, animal disease models, and molecular biological techniques.
Yeah.
Um, so then what you're going to say is you want to have this third sentence be kind of what your applied skills are. So, proven or demonstrated ability to, you might say something like deconstruct regulatory requirements into medical appropriate medical terminology to receive approval or whatever there. So that second sentence is really like, where do you have proven or demonstrated skills? Like what do you have the demonstrated ability to do in your
Mhm.
space? And then the next sentence is really what you're known for. So this for known for ability to build strong relationships with team members, proactively and proactively achieve project milestones,
Yeah.
and whatever, right? So
Okay.
that's your third sentence. So you're going to have that first sentence that kind of introduces you at a high level, the second sentence that talks about your applied skills, the third sentence, which kind of gets into what you're known for among your colleagues, like this is the stuff people come to you for. These are the reasons people come to you, or the
Mhm.
reasons people want you on their team. And then the last sentence is really going to be like what links you to your profession. So, what about medical writing is exciting for you?
Yeah,
Why that?
this is the easiest question you've given me. So I like explaining uh, like difficult or complex scientific uh, topics to people.
Yeah.
I've done this like my entire career, even when I was an undergraduate, um, when we would just go ahead and had to study for specific tests or exams. I actually enjoyed decomposing what we were reading and telling them, like, very easily explain to them what was the topic or the themes that we were talking about.
Yeah. So you are about democratizing complex scientific concepts. So you might say, excited about translating complex scientific concepts for the masses, right?
Mhm.
What types of companies do you want to work for?
I don't really have a specific kind. I'm very open to startups or smaller companies or even big pharma companies. I don't have really
Okay.
a preference.
Yeah.
Um,
Are there,
because each of them have their ups and downs, like big companies have already established teams versus smaller companies. I'm more than likely be able to come in and even interact more with the clients, which would actually help me build my portfolio.
okay. And so why does that interest you? Like, what about kind of work? Because there's lots of spaces where you could write and you could distill complex concepts. Like, why the medical industry? Why the
Yeah.
pharmaceutical industry?
So when I was when I was an undergraduate, my mom wanted me to be a doctor. I did
Okay.
become a doctor, just not a medical doctor. But I've always had like that uh, inkling of I want to not just answer a very focused question, but I would like other people to understand that all of these like scientific knowledge or scientific uh, new things that are being discovered are important and how those affect them or how those are going to help them in their health journey or get better health.
Yeah. So you are excited about helping to distill complex medical insights for the masses to help with a company that is helping to improve the health of everyday people. So that's that last sentence there. So you want to talk about like what excites you and what links your personal motivation and your career path, your choice of career path to what the company is doing. So that's that last sentence.
Okay.
So essentially, instead of having these bullet points, you're going to have a short 4 sentence introductory paragraph that tells people who you are, what it would be like to work with you, the areas that you can help in, and why you're motivated to help in those areas.
Okay.
So, what this essentially does for the start of your resume is it hooks people in, right?
Mhm.
So, the thing that stands out about people is people who I'm like, that's an interesting person. I would want to get to know them or spark some type of curiosity. So, this is almost like a hook to get somebody interested in reading further about you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Yes.
Um, okay, so then you've got kind of your skills and your certifications way down at the bottom of your resume. This should actually be under your professional summary. Again, when you think
Okay.
about this from the perspective of somebody who's skimming through, if you
Mhm.
provide that summary level information at the top, it actually gives me a preview of what I'm going to see later.
Okay.
So this, and it's not skills and certifications. Your certifications actually go in your education section.
Okay.
So this would be skills and expertise moved up. Now, what you kind of got some long sentences in here and things like that
Mhm.
that kind of explain your skills. What we're
Mhm.
looking for here is just literally a list of your top
Okay.
8 to 10 skills that relate to the job.
Okay.
So scientific communication, instead of saying experienced in writing and editing scientific manuscripts, that's inherent from the title of the section,
Okay.
right? What you could do is you can put scientific communication and then in parentheses, you can say manuscripts, grant proposals, presentations, and research one of the things that they're going to be looking for is your ability to create abstracts. So
Yeah.
you would want to call that out. So those are kind of the main things. In the software, you really want to call out those things that are specific to the medical writing community. So things like EndNote, that MLIMS, those kind of lab notebooks, those types of things. Adobe Illustrator is definitely one of those. But you might want to separate out some of these other things like bioinformatics tools. Those are data tools, so I might actually put those as a separate section. Mentorship, I would actually just remove that. While it's an important soft skill, it's not, what we've seen when we're working with our clients is that the soft skills are becoming less and less important in that skills section. People just want to know what skills do you have that are related to the job position. So one of the things that you can do to figure out, okay, what are the things that I need to include in this section? Go and take a look at like 8 to 10 job descriptions across different companies for medical writers and go and classify what are the common skills and softwares that are coming up over and over. And then those are the things that you want to include in that section, so long as you have them. And what this does is it makes it so that you are not constantly having to update your skills section of your resume for each job position because you've covered the 80% already. And it also won't look like a regurgitation of you just like copying and pasting from the job description, right? Because there will be variability in there that shows your unique combination of skills, techniques, methodologies, software, all of that stuff, without you having to edit it every time. So that's really important. So that's the skills section. The next thing section, and this is arguably the most important section of your resume, is your professional experience section. This actually shows that you have applied expertise, you have applied skills in what you've doing or what you've done. So you've got postdoctoral research fellow / research associate, you've got graduate research assistant down below. Those titles are very generic titles that can mean a lot of different responsibilities across the academic community, as I'm sure that you know.
Yes. Yeah.
And so what you want to call attention to is what your specific role on that project was. So instead of saying postdoctoral research fellow or research associate, you can just simply say researcher, comma, retinal diseases.
Manager or something like that.
If you are the project manager, you can call it the project manager, or you can call it a study manager or something like that. In general, you're going to want to have things that are highly related to the role. So in medical writing, I think if you say medical researcher, comma, retinal disease, we're still giving it a generic title, right? We're not inflating that title beyond what we've done, but we're clarifying what your role was on that project or on that body of work. So then you have your blurb. Your blurb is just going to be kind of what you did. So rather than say, I studied this, if you kind of led the project there, you would say led projects related to blah, 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 right? That's the description. That sets the context. You've kind of done it here already, but you've got a couple of things where you're talking about grants, you've talked about peer-reviewed articles, you've talked about project management, those types of things. So you want to talk about kind of leading this, but because you're going into writing roles, you want to emphasize the writing parts of what you've done in that description. Your bullet points, when I look at your bullet points, this is the opportunity for you to provide examples that actually show that you've done what you say you've done, right? So in here, you're kind of, in some cases, showing what you did, but you want to talk about 3 things in each bullet point. what you did, how you did it, and the outcome that was achieved.
Okay.
So you delivered research findings to undergraduate audiences through publications, slide decks, seminars, and posters at 5+ conferences, leading to actionable feedback for your projects. That is a benefit for you. We want to be talking about the benefit for your professional community of the things that you've done. So what I might suggest that you do, because you did these 5 different conferences, you've written 2 peer-reviewed articles, you've delivered, you've analyzed data to enable in vivo experience. Instead of talking about those in a generalized way, you want to talk about them in a specific way. So if I were to ask you, like, tell me about one of the papers that you produced.
Just in general, like what the
No, tell me what the
findings.
paper was about, what it did.
All right, so you see the background that I have, right? Like that very
Yes.
colorful one. So my main project was looking into how a specific protein called rhodopsin, which is in the retina of your eyes, how that protein gets to where it should go. Now, what's important about this protein is that when you wake up at night and it's very dark, you are actually using your rods, which are these kinds of cells. Okay.
Okay.
And rhodopsin is actually the protein that detects the light, the little amount of lights that you are seeing. But we have found that if rhodopsin is unable to reach where it goes, which in this image is the green parts, if it cannot reach there, the cells actually start degenerated. They start dying, and this leads to vision loss. Now,
Okay.
what's important is that in my project, in my study, we found that specific locations in a set of amino acids of this protein are key to be for rhodopsin, for the protein to be able to reach correctly this green space, this green location. And we did several different mutations to try to figure out what parts of that protein were really important for reaching that location.
Okay. So I'm going to go over, I'm just going to show another slide for you. Okay. So I'm going to walk you down a path. So what? So now you've identified this. Like, who cares? Why should somebody care about this?
Yeah, so there are key diseases in humans that if that essentially the rhodopsin, the protein that I'm studying, is mutated and it mislocalizes. It doesn't reach the correct location, and this leads to the people to becoming blind. Essentially all of these people will get to blind if they're not treated. So the idea is that we're trying to understand how the protein it's actually working, or it's actually regulated to then, I guess, in the future, this should lead to understanding for therapeutics, for example, to be able to tackle the diseases.
Okay. And so you published this paper about this thing. Where did you publish it?
So it is currently under review. There is it's in a preprint currently, so it's out there, but the peer review is currently ongoing.
Okay. And the journal that you're publishing it in, what is the total readership of that journal?
The total readership, I don't know, but the impact factor, I think it's about 4 point something. But
Okay.
it's a very well-known cell biology paper or publication.
Would you say it's like a top 10 publication or like a top 20 publication in your space?
Yes.
Okay. Um, or top 5, maybe?
Maybe. I mean, it depends how you define my research
Okay.
field.
Okay. So, so the situation is that you have conducted this research and produced a peer-reviewed article, currently in preprint,
Hmm.
um, for a that identified a protein that contributes to a retinal disease,
Hmm.
like a for how many people does this affect?
Uh, it's in the millions of people.
Okay. That affects millions of people globally?
Yes.
Okay. So when we break this down, we're going to break it down and then we're going to consolidate it into a succinct statement.
Hmm.
So your so what is that you're studying a disease a condition that affects millions of people globally,
Hmm.
and you're publishing those results to a top journal for use by researchers in the development of therapeutic targets,
Yeah.
correct? Okay. So that's kind of the situation. Your task was that you're writing this paper, the action. So what are all the things that you had to do to write that paper?
I mean, I designed the project or designed the experiments. I performed the experiments. I collected the data. I analyzed the data. I wrote the paper, the
Mhm.
manuscript, and I submitted the paper. I mean, and that includes
Okay.
also making the figures for the paper.
Okay. Okay. So what you can say is you can say wrote a manuscript detailing the outcomes of an experiment on outlining the study results for an experiment on a protein contributing to retinal disease for millions of people globally, resulting, paper is currently going through preprint, um, uh, and will be used to enable therapeutic targeting for retinal disease. You're going to want to like tighten that up. But
Okay.
essentially, how you would frame up the statement, you want it to be less than, this is very specific, 197 characters long, because that will fit into the equivalent of 2 visual lines in your
Okay.
resume. You're going to have an action verb. You're going to have what you did. So you can say producing figures and then put Adobe Illustrator in parentheses showing that you used that technology, how you did it. So you analyzed the data, you wrote the abstract, you um, produced the visuals, and then the result that it's currently in preprint in a top five journal, right?
Okay.
So this is the formula for a bullet point. Verb, what, how, result, and the result is a metric or impact. So in your case, you can write about the impact in a couple of different ways. You can write the impact in terms of being published in a top 5 journal. You
Mhm.
can write the impact in terms of the number of people that are affected by this disease who will be helped potentially by your research, or you can talk about it um, uh, in terms of the total readership of that journal. Um,
Okay.
so what you end up with is a statement that's more like, so you've got kind of, right now you have these descriptive statements that talk very generally about what you've done. We want an impact-based statement where it's something to the effect of identified a new therapeutic target for a rare genetic disorder using A, B, and C techniques, supporting advancement to phase 1 clinical trials. In your
Okay.
case, you're going to write this up in terms of a written, like about the writing aspect of it.
Okay.
So, in medical affairs and medical writing, the types of impacts and the types of results they're looking for are publications, presentations at conferences, networking relationships that you've built, because
Okay.
they're going to want to look at your ability to create networks. They're going to want to look at audience size. So, hey, I presented to an audience of X number of people.
Yeah.
Those are all
Yeah.
the types of things. You can also talk about things in terms of volume, wrote in your case, in your current resume, you actually have talked about like, hey, 5 conferences. We don't care about the actionable feedback for your projects. We want to know what your projects advanced in your field.
Okay. Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah. Yeah. It does. Yes.
So again, those are the types of results that you want to highlight. And what, again, you can do to help you identify, what specific types of things that you should include here. When you do that analysis of those 8 to 10 job descriptions, look for the themes and the responsibilities that they have. So look at the top like 6 or so kind of responsibilities, and you want to have examples from each one of your past positions that highlight what you did, how you did it, and a result that you achieved that's similar to what they're outlining as part of your responsibilities.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yes.
Okay. So, and you're going to want to do that for both of these positions. So generally you should end up with 3 to 5 bullet points for each one of these. When you get to your graduate research assistant, just put in research assistant here. You don't have to
Okay.
put in the graduate part again. That can trigger that academic bias.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I
we're
was
not
actually going
trying.
to ask you about that. So yeah.
Yeah, and we're not trying to misrepresent or
Yeah.
inflate or make it seem like you're doing something that you weren't. We're just trying to make it clear what it was
Yeah.
that you were actually doing. So again, you've got kind of the baseline where you're starting to talk about quantified results. So you produce 4 research articles. Present an example of what you did to produce each one of those. Hey, you had to submit a proposal, or you had to identify like journals that you could publish in. You had to submit a proposal. You had to create an abstract. You had to create the visuals. You had to do all of these things. Talk about that.
Okay. Okay.
Same thing with the grant process. There was an F-31 grant. Talk about the amount of money there. Companies love to hear about monetary
Okay.
amounts. So
Okay.
talk about the size of the grant and talk about the steps, like the process that you had to apply to get there. Okay, so that's your professional experience section. What questions do you have about
Yeah.
that?
So I mean, in terms of, I guess it's just like clarification. You kind of pointed to it a little bit. So like for the F-31 grant, right? So coming from an academic background, everyone knows in academia, like, oh, that's you got a grant, great. But now that you mention it, it's like companies don't really care necessarily about the grant, but how good or how big or the amount that comes with the
And
grant.
and the effort, like what are the skills that you had to apply to get that grant, right?
Yeah.
Because that grant, the kind of parallel in industry to that is a proposal to potentially a partner for funding or a
Okay.
proposal to an investor for funding. That's
Okay.
the parallel to it. And those are the kind of same transferable skills that you would be using, or potentially a proposal to a client,
Okay.
that those would kind of have those same set of skills and require some level of written and marketing
Okay.
type ability.
Yeah. So these grants, I mean, the client is the government.
Right.
So
And so if you think about whoever your end user is, right? That's the client, whether it's business, whether
mhm,
it's universities, whatever, whoever your end user is, that's your client. So think
yeah.
about this in terms of what is the value that you created for your client, right? And think of everything like a business. These journals,
Yeah.
they're businesses. They get money
Yes. Oh, no, yes.
for
That part I know. Yes.
yeah, they get money for the content that's produced, right? And so, what value are you bringing to them? Why would they want to have your paper published? Well, they would want to have your paper published if it's going to increase their readership, if it's going to
Mhm,
increase their visibility, if it's going to increase some type of share of market. Think about this. If they could have an article that goes viral, right?
yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
huge value to their publication.
mhm,
So the other thing that you can think about these articles as is like what are the number of citations? What are the number of eyes that are getting on your on your content, because that's helping to create business value for that journal.
Yeah.
In the same way that getting eyes on their marketing materials or their written publications or presentations would be of business value to another type of company.
Okay.
Okay. So then going down to these additional things, generally, you don't need to include this type of stuff. Any kind of instructor positions, I wouldn't put those in for this type of position, because it's not really it's again gonna trigger that academic bias. But you have this postdoctoral fellows representative.
Yeah.
In medical affairs, in regulatory affairs, you're often going to be representing the company. So I would actually move this experience up into your professional experience section and treat it the same way that we talked about with the others. So instead of just describing the experience, like, you want to come up with 3 to 5 examples that highlight skills that would be relevant to a medical affairs professional. That includes like creating relationships, building network, presenting, engaging, liaising between different parties, all of those types of things.
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah, and then, but that would be slotted between the other two, or should I just put it in? Okay, so that would be like a separate experience.
A separate experience in your professional experience section. Yep, that's correct.
Okay. And so it doesn't matter if it, I mean, I guess not, but it doesn't matter if it overlaps with the one of the other two.
It does not. Nope, that does not. As long as it's in reverse chronological order. So you want the most current stuff first and the older stuff later. And you would order it based on kind of your end date for things.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. No, that kind of makes sense, but at the same time, I didn't even think about putting it up there just because it overlapped with one of the other
yeah, and that's totally
experiences.
fine in this context. Yep.
Okay.
So that's, and then lastly, one last thing that I think could help you just kind of beef this up just a little bit is and it's something that we do psychologically. So underneath your name, and after your name, go ahead and put PhD, so comma PhD up there.
Okay.
In medical writing professions, that's always helpful. But underneath that, put a subheadline, and you can do it in the same size font as this stuff right here, but do it in all caps. And you can put medical writer, comma, scientific, or medical writer, vertical bar, or you've used dots here. You can use dots there as well. But put medical writer, dot, scientific communications, dot, and then you can call out one additional skill. That headline you can adjust for different, or you can put regulatory affairs on there too. Those are kind of 3 subheadlines that will prime the reader about what types of things they're going to see in your resume if they continue reading. So that's another kind of tactic that you can use to kind of get people interested.
Okay, that's cool.
So I know I just dumped a ton of stuff on you. I think this is you've got a really good start. You've got a good skeleton here that you can work from. I think my biggest feedback overall is just to be more specific in providing examples.
Okay. Yeah. And that's kind of where I guess I was having hangups just because I didn't really think of how, I mean, just reading from the job descriptions and going to my bullet points is like, oh yeah, I already tackled that bullet point because I am telling them exactly what I did, but I didn't really tell them exactly what I did.
It's you know what, and that is one of the most common mistakes that people make when doing their resumes is they go to the job description and they're like, oh, I did this, and then they go over and they said I did this, right?
Yeah.
And but that's like telling them what you did. It's not showing them what you
Right.
did. So by having an impact-based bullet point, you're able to show people what you actually do.
Okay.
So, and that's differentiating too, right? Because if I'm reading through a bunch of resumes where it just looks like people are regurgitating what's in the job description, it makes
Hmm.
it hard to see, like, who should I hire? Do
Yeah.
they really have the things that they say they have? And then I come across that one resume that actually shows me with examples what they've done. And I go,
Hmm.
okay, this person makes sense for me to spend time on in the interview process.
Yeah. The other question I had is, the way that you explained the professional summary part, like that first part, you have it as a paragraph. Does it matter if it's a paragraph or a bulleted?
I would not do bullet points. I would just do it in a pure paragraph form.
Okay.
And just
Okay.
because that's a standard way of doing it, whenever you start to present bullet points, at
Hmm.
least in it from my perspective, it starts to make the resume seem very sterile.
Okay.
Um, and so by mixing up the types of content just a little bit, it
Hmm.
actually makes the resume a little bit more dynamic.
Okay.
Just again, from that initial impression when I look at it, it's like
Hmm.
I'm not looking at big giant blocks of text. You don't want that summary to be more than 4 to 5 visual lines long. You still want it to be succinct.
Hmm.
Um, but by kind of varying the visual content just a little bit, it's just more engaging. It's more dynamic.
Okay. And in terms, so I'm sure you've noticed that I've bolded some of the words. Is that fine, or is that
I wouldn't do
matter at
that.
all?
I would actually, that was something that I actually meant to say during it. Don't do that because what it does. So there's, again, the psychology of this is
Hmm.
there's certain things called pre-attentive attributes.
Okay.
Pre-attentive attributes, they're evolutionary characteristics that we see in our environments. And at its core, basically what it is it's just something that looks different in our visual environment that
Right.
signals danger. Evolutionarily, that's
Mhm.
what it did. But we process those things almost instantaneously,
Yeah.
right? And so what that bolding is going to do is actually going to draw the eye to the bolded stuff. And it
Right.
may actually detract from your kind of sequential narrative that you're
Okay.
telling and make
Okay.
it more visually confusing versus just kind of having your narrative make sense in a more storytelling type of format, which is how
Mhm.
we as human beings remember information. We remember stories.
Okay.
So when you think about kind of the setup and how resumes are set up visually, they call attention like similar things are formatted similar ways.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that prevents us from getting distracted by things that could actually cause confusion rather
Right.
than clarity.
Okay. No, I had a ton more like bolded than what I have here, like significantly more, but I did reduce that over time. So, yes, it does look easier to go through,
Yeah. And one of the
without
things that you
me
can
jumping up and down.
Yeah, and one of the things that you can do, like, and I recommend everybody does this when they're looking at their resume, is just after you've created it, take a day
Hmm.
off, go back, close your eyes, and just open them and see where your eyes go.
Okay.
Because if your eyes are dropping down in the resume without kind of going through the flow,
Hmm.
you know that it's probably going to cause some confusion.
Okay.
So,
So I guess one more. I don't know how much time you have, but
yeah, we have one
that
more question and then we got to jump over and kind of do our wrap up here.
okay, perfect. So that last point that I have there, like the networking with biosciences sector entrepreneurs, I know
Mhm.
that in some of the job descriptions they do talk about talking to clients and stuff like that. And that's why I have this here because these are essentially venture capitalists and maybe entrepreneurs that I'm trying to equate them to clients. And I
Mhm.
don't know if I should keep these as a separate uh,
Yeah,
section or removing it or putting it into like some of the other experiences.
yeah, interweave it into your other experience. So if you're networking during the course of
Mhm.
your work in this research fellow position, just include a bullet point that said, attended weekly networking events with local entrepreneurs, developing a network of over X professionals or whatever. So that's how you can weave that in. But that's a good call out. That's a really good call out. So.
Yeah.
All right. So again, I want to thank you, Jorge, for being game for this. I know this can be really intimidating to sit in front of an audience and kind of have your experience nitpicked. So thank you so much. Hopefully you've taken something from this that will kind of help you in your search. For the rest of the folks on the call, I'm going to hand it over to Elena in just a minute to talk about our next live session, which will be an interview prep live session. If you found value in this session, I encourage you all to take a look at our job search program. Unfortunately, right now it's only available to job seekers in the US, though we do plan to expand that in the future. Take a look, it's available on our website, and it's something that has helped accelerate the job searches of many participants over the course of the past year since we launched it. So with that, I'll hand it over to Elena to wrap us up.
Hey, thank you so much, Angela. So first of all, for anyone who's interested to check AlmaMe out and the work we do, I will put in the link. But so today we focus on the resume, and the resume is really just the first step to get the foot into the door. What we see, so PhDs come at every stage to us to work with us. It can be, I don't get an interview, but we have many PhDs who say, I get interviews, but I never make it through the recruiter screen. I never really make it through the hiring manager interviews. Every interview that you will encounter has different objectives, and it's sometimes very difficult because you never get feedback, so you never really hear what went wrong if you go for an interview. So with the next session, which is really focused on, which is a live mock interview, which is really interesting because Angela and we realized we produced some courses, and it was so funny because we have a live mock interview in there, and everyone seems to keep commenting on this interview, so it apparently provides great value. And yeah, we're doing it again live to show you guys what an interview can look like, but also what are some very common pitfalls most PhDs fall into, and maybe not only PhDs. To be honest, I guess a lot of academics or everyone who's transitioning from one to another place. And to be honest, interview process is a black box, and we demystify it because, yeah, Angela has a lot of hiring experience and has hired for over 20 years. I'm going to put the link in for you guys. So if you want, you can already sign up. I haven't posted about it, so you're the first people to actually get access to it. Let me just quickly see. I think I have the code here, and then I paste it in the chat so you guys can sign up for it. And also, I would like to add something that I think Angela forgot to mention. If you're interested in the accelerator program, again, it's only currently offered in the US, unfortunately. We get a lot of requests from all over Europe, and Angela and I do our best to bring it to the rest of the globe. But if you're interested, we currently do offer 26% on the initiation fee for everyone who is interested. Maybe that's something you want to know about, and you will get an email from me in around 4 hours with a recap of the session, and also a link to where you can check out the program, where you can make use of the 26% on the initiation fee. And yeah, the important thing is when you apply for the program, you will have an intro call with Angela where you can ask a lot of questions. So if you're unsure right now if this is the right fit for you, don't worry at all. Apply, and you will get to speak to Angela, who will assess your situation. She will give you some feedback, and yeah, hopefully we will be working together. Yeah, and I just want to say thank you everyone for listening in. Again, it's recorded. I'm going to be sending this out in 4 hours from now, or in 3 hours actually, so you can rewatch it. And yeah, I hope I will see you guys on the 17th of December for our interview mock session. And thank you, Jorge, for volunteering. That was wonderful.
No, thank you for the opportunity. It was pretty good. It was actually pretty great. And thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And also one last thing that I could say, Jorge, because I know you are in our AlmaMe PhD community, not to make advertisement for it, but maybe if anyone is interested, I will put that in the email maybe too, if there is an interest to join our PhD career community, which is a pretty amazing place to be.
Yes,
Awesome.
indeed. Yes, I
Cool.
concur.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for a great session. Thank you again, Jorge, and hopefully we will see you either in our job search program, folks, or in our session on the 17th. So hope everybody has a great day, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just checking if anyone had a question.
Thank you for the opportunity, and you have a great one.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you
you,
again,
Jorge,
Jorge.
for
That was
volunteering.
amazing.
Yeah, of course. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I think I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna end the meeting for everyone, or?
Can you end it for everyone?